Question 1. To address the challenge of accurately processing a newly introduced category of mail that requires specific handling procedures, a postal employee is provided with a detailed, multi-step written instruction guide. The employee has prior experience with similar, but not identical, mail types. Which of the following approaches best demonstrates adherence to following instructions and ensures proper handling of this new mail? Option A. Disregard the written instructions entirely and develop a personal method for handling the new mail that seems more efficient based on general postal knowledge. Option B. Quickly skim the instructions, relying on past experience with similar mail types to anticipate the general process, and then proceed with handling the new mail. Option C. Carefully read and understand each step of the provided instruction guide before beginning the task, then execute each step in the prescribed order, paying close attention to any specific handling requirements for this new mail category. Option D. Read only the first few steps of the instructions, assuming the rest will be similar to previous procedures, and then begin processing the mail. Correct answer is C. Carefully read and understand each step of the provided instruction guide before beginning the task, then execute each step in the prescribed order, paying close attention to any specific handling requirements for this new mail category. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to meticulously follow a set of specific, sequential instructions for handling a new type of mail, while also being vigilant for potential errors or deviations that could compromise service or security. The employee must not only understand the written instructions, but also apply them accurately to a real-world situation, recognizing that even minor misinterpretations can lead to significant problems. The pressure to process mail efficiently can sometimes lead to overlooking crucial details, making adherence to instructions paramount. The correct approach involves carefully reading and understanding each step of the provided instructions before beginning the task, then executing each step in the prescribed order. This method ensures that all requirements are met, potential pitfalls are avoided, and the new mail handling procedure is implemented correctly according to Postal Service guidelines. This aligns with the Postal Service's commitment to operational integrity and customer service, as outlined in its internal operational manuals and training materials, which emphasize accuracy and adherence to established protocols. An incorrect approach of attempting to process the mail without fully reading the instructions, or by making assumptions based on previous experience with similar, but not identical, mail types, would be professionally unacceptable. This bypasses the critical step of understanding the specific requirements for this new mail, directly violating the principle of following written instructions and potentially leading to errors in sorting, delivery, or handling, which could result in lost mail, delayed delivery, or security breaches. This failure to adhere to established procedures undermines the reliability and trustworthiness of the Postal Service. Another incorrect approach of only partially following the instructions, perhaps skipping steps deemed less important or time-consuming, is also professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a lack of diligence and a disregard for the completeness of the directive. Each step in a procedural instruction is typically there for a reason, and omitting any can compromise the overall effectiveness and safety of the process. This approach fails to uphold the professional standard of thoroughness expected of all Postal Service employees. Finally, an incorrect approach of improvising or creating one's own method for handling the mail, even if it appears more efficient, is professionally unacceptable. The Postal Service operates under a strict regulatory framework that mandates adherence to established procedures for consistency, accountability, and security. Deviating from these instructions, regardless of perceived efficiency, introduces an unacceptable level of risk and inconsistency into operations. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves a commitment to understanding and executing all directives precisely as written. This includes allocating sufficient time to read and comprehend instructions, asking clarifying questions if any part is unclear, and systematically applying each step. Professionals should prioritize accuracy and adherence to established protocols over perceived shortcuts or personal assumptions, recognizing that their actions directly impact the integrity of the Postal Service and the satisfaction of its customers. Question 2. Analysis of the following passage from the Postal Service's Domestic Mail Manual, DMM, section on package preparation. All parcels must be securely wrapped and sealed to prevent damage or loss of contents during transit. Fragile items require additional cushioning and a fragile sticker, clearly visible on all sides. Items exceeding 70 pounds or 108 inches in combined length and girth must be handled as oversized and may incur additional fees. Proper addressing, including a complete return address, is mandatory for all shipments. A customer is inquiring about sending a delicate ceramic vase. Based on this passage, what is the most appropriate advice to provide the customer? Option A. Advise the customer that the vase needs to be securely wrapped and cushioned, and that a fragile sticker should be applied, while also mentioning the importance of proper addressing. Option B. Explain to the customer that the weight and size limits are the most critical factors for sending any item, and they should focus on those first. Option C. Inform the customer that all packages are handled with care, and that they should simply address the vase and bring it to the post office. Option D. Suggest that the customer research specialized shipping companies for delicate items, as the Postal Service may not be equipped to handle such fragile goods. The correct answer is A. Advise the customer that the vase needs to be securely wrapped and cushioned, and that a fragile sticker should be applied, while also mentioning the importance of proper addressing. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a Postal Service employee to interpret and apply specific operational guidelines from a technical manual while considering the potential impact on a customer. The core challenge lies in balancing adherence to established procedures with the need for effective communication and problem-solving in a customer-facing role. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the employee not only understands the technical details, but also can articulate them clearly and appropriately to someone unfamiliar with postal jargon. The correct approach involves carefully reading the provided passage, identifying the main idea regarding package handling, and then applying that understanding to the specific customer inquiry. This demonstrates a strong grasp of reading comprehension skills, the ability to extract relevant information from technical documents, and the capacity to translate that information into a practical, customer-friendly explanation. This aligns with the Postal Service's emphasis on accurate information dissemination and excellent customer service, as implicitly required by operational manuals and customer interaction guidelines. An incorrect approach would be to provide a vague or overly technical answer that does not directly address the customer's concern. This fails to demonstrate comprehension of the passage's core message and its practical application. It also neglects the customer service aspect, leaving the customer confused or unsatisfied. Another incorrect approach would be to guess or provide information not supported by the text, which violates the principle of accuracy and reliance on documented procedures. This could lead to misinformation and potential service failures. Professionals should use a decision-making framework that prioritizes understanding the source material thoroughly, identifying the key information relevant to the situation, and then formulating a response that is both accurate according to the source and clear to the recipient. This involves a mental checklist. Did I understand the passage? What is the core requirement or information? How can I best communicate this to the customer? Does my response adhere to all relevant guidelines? Question 3. The investigation demonstrates that a postal employee is processing a piece of mail with the street address 123 Main Street. However, the delivery route data for that ZIP code indicates that the primary street in that area is Main Avenue. The employee also notices that the city listed on the mail piece is Springfield, but the ZIP code provided corresponds to Springfield Heights. Based on these observations, which of the following actions best adheres to Postal Service Exam 473 requirements for address matching and delivery sequencing? Option A. Correct the street suffix to Avenue and the city to Springfield Heights based on the delivery route data and ZIP code, then process for delivery. Option B. Return the mail piece to the sender for clarification of the correct address. Option C. Attempt to deliver the mail piece to 123 Main Street in Springfield and note the discrepancy for future reference. Option D. Forward the mail piece for delivery as is, assuming the recipient will receive it despite the minor discrepancies. Correct answer is D. Forward the mail piece for delivery as is, assuming the recipient will receive it despite the minor discrepancies. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to make a critical judgment call regarding address accuracy and its direct impact on delivery efficiency and customer service, all within the strict operational guidelines of the United States Postal Service. USPs. The employee must balance the need for speed in processing mail with the imperative to ensure accurate delivery, as errors can lead to delayed mail, customer complaints, and increased operational costs. The core of the challenge lies in interpreting potentially ambiguous address information and applying USP standardization rules to resolve discrepancies without introducing new errors. The correct approach involves meticulously verifying each component of the address against established USP standards and delivery route data. This includes confirming the street number, street name, suffix, city, state, and ZIP code. If discrepancies are found, the employee must utilize available resources, such as address correction services or internal USPS databases, to identify the correct information. This approach is correct because it directly aligns with USPS Publication 28, Postal Addressing Standards, which mandates the accurate and standardized addressing of mail for efficient processing and delivery. Adhering to these standards ensures that mail can be accurately sorted, sequenced for delivery point sequence, DPS, and delivered to the correct recipient, thereby upholding the USPS commitment to reliable service. An incorrect approach would be to assume the address is correct despite visible inconsistencies, or to make a hasty correction without proper verification. For instance, simply ignoring a slightly misspelled street name or a potentially incorrect street number, hoping it will still reach the destination, is a failure to adhere to USPS addressing standards. This can lead to misdeliveries, returns, and delays, violating the USPS obligation to deliver mail accurately and efficiently. Another incorrect approach would be to arbitrarily assign a correction based on a guess or incomplete information. This bypasses the established verification processes and risks introducing further errors, undermining the integrity of the mail stream and potentially causing significant inconvenience to the addressee. Professionals in this role should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy and adherence to USPS regulations. This framework involves 1. Initial assessment. Carefully examine all address components for any deviations from standard formats or known information. 2. Verification. Utilize available USPS tools and resources, e.g., address lookup systems, delivery route maps, to confirm the accuracy of each component. 3. Standardization. Apply USPS Publication 28 standards for address elements. 4. Correction if necessary. If an error is identified, use authorized methods to obtain the correct information. 5. Documentation. Record any corrections made if required by internal procedures for quality control and auditing. This systematic approach ensures that decisions are data-driven, compliant with regulations, and contribute to the overall efficiency and reliability of postal operations. Question 4. During the evaluation of a customer's package mailing, a postal clerk calculates the postage required to be $12.75. The customer pays with a $1.20 bill, and the clerk provides $7.25 in change. Upon reviewing the transaction log at the end of the shift, the clerk notices that the system recorded the postage as $11.75. Which of the following represents the most appropriate immediate action to take? Option A. Adjust the current day's financial report to reflect the system-recorded postage of $11.75 to match the log. Option B. Reconcile the transaction by identifying the source of the $1.00 difference between the calculated and system-recorded postage and take corrective action according to Postal Service procedures. Option C. Immediately contact the customer to inform them of the potential overcharge and request they return to the post office. Option D. Assume the system error is minor and proceed with the next task, as the customer has already departed. The correct answer is B. Reconcile the transaction by identifying the source of the $1.00 difference between the calculated and system-recorded postage and take corrective action according to Postal Service procedures. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to balance efficiency with accuracy, particularly when dealing with potential discrepancies that could impact revenue and customer trust. The core of the challenge lies in applying arithmetic reasoning principles to a real-world postal task where errors can have tangible consequences. Careful judgment is required to identify and address deviations from expected outcomes without causing undue delays or customer dissatisfaction. The correct approach involves meticulously verifying the calculated postage against the actual postage collected, identifying any difference, and then following established procedures to reconcile the discrepancy. This aligns with the Postal Service's commitment to financial integrity and accurate service delivery, as mandated by internal regulations and guidelines that emphasize accountability for all financial transactions. Specifically, it upholds the principle of ensuring all services rendered are properly accounted for, preventing potential financial losses for the Postal Service, and ensuring fair charges to customers. This methodical verification process is a direct application of arithmetic reasoning to a critical operational task. An incorrect approach of simply accepting the initial calculation without verification fails to uphold the Postal Service's financial accountability standards. This oversight could lead to undercharging customers, resulting in revenue loss, or overcharging, leading to customer complaints and damage to the Postal Service's reputation for fairness. Another incorrect approach of immediately assuming customer error without a thorough check of the calculation process itself is unprofessional and can lead to unnecessary conflict. It bypasses the employee's responsibility to ensure the accuracy of their own work and the tools used. A third incorrect approach of ignoring a minor discrepancy to save time is a direct violation of operational integrity. Even small discrepancies, when aggregated, can represent significant financial impact and undermine the trust placed in the Postal Service's operational accuracy. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy and adherence to established procedures. This involves 1. Understanding the task and its expected outcome, e.g., correct postage calculation. 2. Performing the necessary arithmetic operations to arrive at the expected outcome. 3. Comparing the calculated outcome with the actual outcome. 4. If a discrepancy exists, initiating a systematic investigation to identify the source of the error, e.g., recalculating, checking equipment, reviewing customer information. 5. Following established protocols for reconciliation and reporting. This structured approach ensures that all transactions are handled with integrity and that potential issues are addressed proactively and professionally. Question 5. The monitoring system demonstrates that a customer has submitted a change of address form with a missing signature. The form instructions clearly state that a signature is required for validation. What is the most appropriate action for the postal employee to take? Option A. Process the change of address form as submitted, assuming the customer intended to sign it. Option B. Advise the customer that the form cannot be processed without a signature and offer to mail them a new form. Option C. Inform the customer that the form is incomplete and request their signature to ensure proper processing. Option D. Discard the incomplete form and instruct the customer to resubmit a fully completed form. The correct answer is C. Inform the customer that the form is incomplete and request their signature to ensure proper processing. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the need for accurate record-keeping and adherence to postal regulations with the potential for a customer to inadvertently provide incomplete or incorrect information, which could lead to service disruptions or security concerns. Postal employee must exercise good judgment and apply established procedures to resolve the discrepancy without compromising the integrity of the postal system or alienating the customer. The correct approach involves politely and clearly informing the customer about the missing information on the change of address form and guiding them on how to provide the necessary details. This upholds the regulatory requirement for complete and accurate submission of postal forms, as outlined in USP's guidelines for processing such requests. It ensures that the change of address can be processed correctly, preventing mail from being misdelivered and maintaining customer trust. This approach prioritizes accuracy and compliance while maintaining a positive customer interaction. An incorrect approach would be to process the form as is, despite the missing information. This fails to meet the regulatory requirement for complete forms and could lead to mail being sent to the old address, causing customer dissatisfaction and potential loss of mail. Another incorrect approach would be to refuse to accept the form or to be dismissive of the customer's attempt to complete it. This is unprofessional and does not align with the USP's commitment to customer service. It also fails to provide the customer with the necessary guidance to correct the error, thus not resolving the issue. Professionals should approach such situations by first identifying the discrepancy against the form's instructions and relevant USP's guidelines. They should then communicate the issue clearly and respectfully to the customer, offering assistance in completing the form accurately. This decision-making process prioritizes regulatory compliance, customer service, and the efficient processing of postal services. Question 6. The audit findings indicate a consistent backlog in the processing of certain types of bulk mail, impacting delivery timelines. As a postal employee tasked with improving efficiency, which of the following approaches best aligns with postal service regulations, policies, and ethical standards for addressing this issue? Option A. Develop a comprehensive plan to streamline the existing sorting and processing workflow for bulk mail, ensuring all proposed changes are reviewed against current postal service regulations and policies, and then submitted to management for approval before implementation. Option B. Reassign the bulk mail processing tasks to a different facility that has fewer operational demands, without first assessing if that facility has the capacity or the appropriate staffing to handle the additional workload. Option C. Advise customers who frequently send bulk mail to temporarily reduce their volume until the backlog is resolved, citing operational challenges. Option D. Implement a new sorting method that prioritizes speed by bypassing some of the standard verification steps for this mail category, with the goal of clearing the backlog more quickly. The correct answer is D. Implement a new sorting method that prioritizes speed by bypassing some of the standard verification steps for this mail category, with the goal of clearing the backlog more quickly. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing efficiency with adherence to established postal regulations and ethical guidelines. The pressure to optimize processes can sometimes lead to shortcuts that might inadvertently violate policies designed to ensure mail integrity, customer privacy, and fair service. A postal employee must exercise sound judgment to identify and implement improvements that are compliant and ethical, rather than simply the fastest or easiest. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough review of existing procedures against current postal service regulations and policies, followed by the development of proposed changes that demonstrably improve efficiency without compromising service quality, security, or customer satisfaction. This aligns with the Postal Service's mission to provide reliable and efficient mail service while upholding ethical standards. Specifically, any process optimization must be evaluated for its impact on mail handling, package security, customer interaction, and adherence to privacy laws, all of which are governed by internal postal service directives and federal regulations. The emphasis on seeking approval from supervisors and relevant departments ensures that proposed changes are vetted for compliance and potential unintended consequences, reflecting a commitment to responsible operational management. Incorrect approaches analysis. An approach that focuses solely on reducing processing time by bypassing standard sorting protocols for certain mail categories risks misdelivery, delays, and potential loss of mail, directly violating postal regulations concerning mail handling and security. This approach prioritizes speed over accuracy and compliance, an approach that involves delegating customer service inquiries to less experienced staff without adequate training or oversight, in an effort to free up senior staff for other tasks, could lead to incorrect information being provided to customers, breaches of privacy, or failure to resolve issues effectively. This undermines the Postal Service's commitment to excellent customer service and adherence to ethical guidelines regarding customer interaction and data protection. An approach that implements new tracking technology without first verifying its compatibility with existing postal service systems and ensuring staff are properly trained on its use could lead to data discrepancies, system failures, and a decline in operational efficiency, rather than an improvement. This demonstrates a lack of due diligence in understanding the full implications of a process change on overall postal operations and regulatory compliance. Professional reasoning. Professionals in postal services should employ a systematic decision-making process when considering process optimization. This involves 1. Understanding the current process and its objectives. 2. Identifying specific areas for improvement. 3. Researching relevant postal service regulations, policies, and ethical guidelines that govern these areas. 4. Brainstorming potential solutions, evaluating each for compliance, efficiency, and impact on service quality and customer experience. 5. Consulting with supervisors and relevant departments to ensure proposed changes are fully vetted and approved. 6. Implementing approved changes with proper training and monitoring. This structured approach ensures that optimizations are beneficial, compliant, and aligned with the Postal Service's core values and mission. Question 7. Comparative studies suggest that effective memory retention is crucial for postal service roles. Considering the demands of remembering names, addresses, postal codes, and specific delivery instructions. Which of the following approaches best aligns with improving memory retention for Postal Service Exam 473 applicants? Option A. Relying solely on reading through lists of addresses and postal codes multiple times without active engagement. Option B. Studying information only once before the exam and assuming the knowledge will be retained without further reinforcement. Option C. Actively practicing recall of addresses and postal codes, using visualization techniques for delivery routes, and regularly reviewing learned information. Option D. Memorizing unrelated trivia to exercise general memory capacity, assuming it will transfer to job-specific information. The correct answer is C. Actively practicing recall of addresses and postal codes, using visualization techniques for delivery routes, and regularly reviewing learned information. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to accurately recall and apply a significant amount of specific, detailed information under time pressure, directly impacting service efficiency and customer satisfaction. The ability to retain and retrieve names, addresses, postal codes, and instructions is fundamental to the role. Failure to do so can lead to misdeliveries, delays, and a breakdown in the established postal system's reliability. Careful judgment is required to select and implement effective memory strategies that are both practical for the job and compliant with Postal Service protocols. The correct approach involves actively employing memory retention strategies that are directly applicable to the tasks of a postal employee, such as using mnemonic devices for postal codes, visualizing routes, and practicing active recall of addresses and delivery instructions. This aligns with the implicit expectation of the Postal Service Exam 473, which assesses an applicant's aptitude for the job, including their ability to learn and retain job-specific information. By focusing on proven memory techniques, an individual demonstrates a proactive and effective approach to mastering the demands of the position, ensuring accuracy and efficiency in their duties, which are core to the integrity of postal operations. An incorrect approach that relies solely on passive memorization without active engagement or practice is professionally unacceptable. This fails to leverage the cognitive science behind effective memory and can lead to significant errors in recalling critical information like addresses or delivery instructions, directly violating the expectation of accuracy in postal service. Another incorrect approach that involves neglecting to review or reinforce learned information after initial study is also professionally flawed. This leads to rapid information decay and a high probability of forgetting crucial details, undermining the reliability and efficiency expected of a postal employee. A third incorrect approach that focuses on memorizing extraneous details unrelated to postal duties, while potentially demonstrating a capacity for memorization, is professionally inefficient and misdirected. It fails to prioritize the specific knowledge required for the job, indicating a lack of understanding of the role's core requirements and a poor allocation of cognitive effort. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes learning and retention strategies directly relevant to the job's demands. This involves understanding the types of information that need to be memorized, identifying effective techniques for each type, e.g., visual aids for routes, acronyms for codes, and consistently practicing and reviewing this information. The framework should also include self-assessment to identify areas of weakness and adjust strategies accordingly, ensuring continuous improvement in memory retention for all critical job-related data. Question 8. The efficiency study reveals that a postal carrier is consistently struggling to meet delivery deadline due to an unorganized approach to their route. Which of the following strategies best addresses this challenge while adhering to Postal Service operational guidelines and performance expectations? Option A. Focus solely on increasing physical speed during deliveries without any changes to the route's organization. Option B. Prioritize personal errands and conversations with residents over the timely delivery of mail. Option C. Develop a detailed daily plan for the route, grouping deliveries geographically, prioritizing urgent items, and minimizing non-essential stops or distractions. Option D. Delay the most time-consuming or difficult deliveries until the end of the day, hoping to have more time then. Correct answer is C. Develop a detailed daily plan for the route, grouping deliveries geographically, prioritizing urgent items, and minimizing non-essential stops or distractions. Explanation. The efficiency study reveals that a postal carrier is consistently struggling to meet delivery deadlines due to an unorganized approach to their route. This scenario is professionally challenging because it directly impacts customer satisfaction, the reputation of the postal service, and the carrier's own job performance. Effective time management and task prioritization are not merely suggestions but essential components of fulfilling the duties of a postal carrier, as outlined by Postal Service operational guidelines and performance standards. The ability to organize work efficiently, minimize distractions, and balance workload are critical for ensuring timely and accurate mail delivery. The correct approach involves a systematic and proactive method of planning and executing the route. This includes understanding the route's geography, identifying high-priority deliveries, e.g., certified mail, packages requiring signatures, and grouping deliveries logically to minimize travel time and backtracking. Minimizing distractions, such as unnecessary conversations or prolonged breaks, and maintaining focus on the task at hand are also crucial. This approach aligns with the Postal Service's commitment to efficiency, reliability, and customer service, which are implicitly and explicitly supported by internal operational directives and performance expectations. An incorrect approach that involves delaying difficult or time-consuming deliveries until the end of the day is professionally unacceptable. This strategy often leads to missed deadlines, increased stress, and a higher likelihood of errors. It fails to address the root cause of inefficiency and can negatively impact subsequent routes or the carrier's ability to complete their assigned duties within the expected time frame, potentially violating performance standards. Another incorrect approach, such as prioritizing personal errands or non-work-related conversations over timely mail delivery, represents a significant ethical and professional failure. This demonstrates a lack of commitment to the responsibilities of the position and a disregard for the needs of the customers and the operational requirements of the Postal Service. Such behavior undermines the trust placed in postal employees and can lead to disciplinary action. A third incorrect approach, which is to simply work faster without any organizational strategy, is also flawed. While speed is a factor, it must be coupled with efficiency. Rushing without a plan can lead to increased errors, damage to mail, or safety hazards, ultimately negating any perceived time savings and potentially creating more problems. This approach fails to address the underlying organizational issues contributing to the delays. The professional decision-making process for a postal carrier facing such challenges should involve self-assessment of current work habits, identification of specific bottlenecks in their route execution, and the implementation of structured time management techniques. This includes seeking guidance from supervisors or experienced colleagues on best practices for route organization and time allocation. The focus should always be on fulfilling the core responsibilities of the job in a timely, accurate, and efficient manner, adhering to all Postal Service operational guidelines and performance expectations. Question 9. Investigation of a package at a postal facility reveals a small, non-standard symbol printed near the address label that is not a recognized postal marking or a standard shipping label element. The package's weight and dimensions are within acceptable limits, and it appears to be a routine mailing. However, the employee handling the package recalls that certain symbols, even if not explicitly defined in standard training, can sometimes indicate the presence of regulated materials. What is the most appropriate course of action for the postal employee in this situation? Option A. Ask the sender, if present, to explain the meaning of the symbol before accepting the package. Option B. Attempt to deliver the package while making a mental note to report the symbol later if any issues arise. Option C. Immediately place the package on hold for further inspection by a supervisor or designated hazardous materials specialist, referencing the unusual marking. Option D. Proceed with processing the package as normal, assuming the symbol is an irrelevant mark. The correct answer is D. Proceed with processing the package as normal, assuming the symbol is an irrelevant mark. Explanation. This scenario presents a common implementation challenge in package handling, requiring a postal employee to balance efficiency with strict adherence to regulations. The challenge lies in quickly identifying a potential issue with a package that deviates from standard procedures, necessitating a decision that prioritizes safety and compliance over speed. The employee must exercise judgment based on their knowledge of package labeling requirements and hazardous materials regulations to prevent potential harm or regulatory violations. The correct approach involves recognizing the anomaly in the package labeling and taking immediate, appropriate action to investigate further according to established protocols. This demonstrates a commitment to safety and regulatory compliance, which are paramount in postal operations. Specifically, identifying a non-standard marking that could indicate a hazardous material, even if not explicitly labeled as such, and initiating a hold for inspection aligns with the Postal Service's responsibility to protect its employees, the public, and the mail stream from dangerous substances. This proactive stance is directly supported by regulations concerning the acceptance and handling of potentially hazardous items. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the unusual marking due to time pressure or a lack of immediate certainty about its meaning. This failure to investigate a potential safety hazard is a direct violation of hazardous materials regulations and general postal safety guidelines. Another incorrect approach would be to assume the marking is benign without proper verification. This assumption could lead to the acceptance of a prohibited or hazardous item, creating significant risks. Finally, attempting to deliver the package without addressing the suspicious marking, even if it appears to be a minor deviation, bypasses essential safety checks and could have severe consequences. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes safety and regulatory compliance. This involves 1. Vigilance, actively observing all aspects of package handling, including labeling and appearance. 2. Recognition, identifying deviations from standard procedures or suspicious indicators. 3. Verification, consulting relevant regulations, manuals, or supervisors when unsure. 4. Action, taking appropriate steps based on verified information, which may include holding the package, reporting the issue, or refusing acceptance. This systematic approach ensures that potential risks are mitigated before they can cause harm. Question 10. System analysis indicates that a new automated sorting system is being implemented in your local post office, requiring all mail handlers to adapt to a revised workflow and new equipment operation within a tight deadline. You have received a brief overview of the changes, but are unsure about specific operational nuances that could affect your efficiency and accuracy. How should you best adapt to this changing work condition? Option A. Express concerns about the tight deadline and the perceived inadequacy of the initial training to your colleagues, and collectively decide to proceed with the old system until management addresses your concerns more thoroughly. Option B. Proactively seek detailed clarification on the new system's operation and workflow from supervisors or designated trainers. Practice using the new equipment diligently, and remain open to feedback and further adjustments to ensure accurate and efficient mail processing. Option C. Attempt to operate the new automated system based on your limited understanding, hoping to figure out the nuances as you go, and prioritize speed over accuracy to meet the deadline. Option D. Continue using the familiar manual sorting methods you are accustomed to, as they have always been effective, and wait for more comprehensive training to be provided at a later date. The correct answer is B. Proactively seek detailed clarification on the new system's operation and workflow from supervisors or designated trainers. Practice using the new equipment diligently, and remain open to feedback and further adjustments to ensure accurate and efficient mail processing. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires a postal employee to quickly and effectively adapt to an unforeseen operational change that directly impacts their daily duties and the service provided to the public. The core of the challenge lies in maintaining service quality and efficiency under new, potentially disruptive conditions, which demands a high degree of adaptability. Careful judgment is required to balance the immediate need to implement the new procedure with the ongoing responsibility of delivering mail accurately and on time. The correct approach involves proactively seeking clarification and understanding of the new procedure, then applying it diligently while remaining open to feedback and further adjustments. This demonstrates a commitment to following established postal regulations and guidelines, which prioritize accurate and timely mail delivery. By actively engaging with the change, the employee upholds the Postal Service's commitment to service standards and operational integrity. This proactive and compliant stance aligns with the USP's emphasis on continuous improvement and adherence to directives. An incorrect approach would be to ignore or resist the new procedure, perhaps by continuing with the old method or by implementing the new one without fully understanding it. This failure to adapt to changing work conditions and new technologies or procedures directly violates the USP's operational directives and could lead to mail delays, misdeliveries, and customer complaints, thereby undermining public trust and the efficiency of the postal system. Such resistance also shows a lack of flexibility and openness to new ideas, which are critical for professional development and organizational success within the postal service. Another incorrect approach would be to implement the new procedure haphazardly without seeking necessary clarification or training. This demonstrates a lack of diligence and a failure to respond effectively to unexpected situations. It could result in errors, inefficiencies, and a negative impact on service, contravening the USP's mandate for reliable mail service. This approach shows a disregard for proper procedure and a lack of commitment to understanding and executing new responsibilities effectively. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. First, acknowledge the change and its potential impact. Second, actively seek to understand the new requirements through official channels, asking clarifying questions if necessary. Third, implement the new procedure with diligence and attention to detail. Fourth, remain open to feedback and be prepared to adjust your approach as needed. Finally, always prioritize adherence to USP's regulations and guidelines to ensure the integrity and efficiency of postal operations. Question 11. Stakeholder feedback indicates that during periods of high mail volume, some postal employees focus exclusively on their assigned routes, leading to delays for other team members who require assistance or shared resources to complete their duties efficiently. Considering the USP's emphasis on teamwork and collaboration, which of the following actions best demonstrates a commitment to supporting team goals and colleagues? Option A. Express frustration about the high mail volume to colleagues, highlighting how it impacts your ability to complete your own tasks without offering any solutions or support. Option B. Proactively communicate your workload status to your supervisor and colleagues and offer assistance to teammates who appear to be struggling with their tasks, even if it means a slight adjustment to your own schedule. Option C. Politely decline requests for assistance from colleagues, citing your own busy schedule and suggest they speak to a supervisor. Option D. Focus solely on completing your own assigned tasks as quickly as possible, assuming that other team members are responsible for managing their own workloads. The correct answer is B. Proactively communicate your workload status to your supervisor and colleagues and offer assistance to teammates who appear to be struggling with their tasks, even if it means a slight adjustment to your own schedule. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing individual workload with the needs of the team and the overarching goal of efficient mail delivery, all while adhering to USP's operational guidelines and fostering a positive work environment. The pressure to meet delivery targets can sometimes lead to shortcuts or a lack of communication, which can negatively impact team cohesion and service quality. Careful judgment is required to ensure that individual performance does not compromise collective success or violate USP's policies regarding teamwork and communication. The correct approach involves proactively communicating the workload challenges and offering assistance to colleagues who may be struggling, thereby sharing resources and contributing to team goals. This aligns with USP's expectations for teamwork and collaboration, emphasizing mutual support and shared responsibility for operational success. By openly discussing workload and offering help, an employee demonstrates a commitment to the team's overall efficiency and the timely delivery of mail, which are core USP's objectives. This proactive and collaborative stance is essential for maintaining morale and operational effectiveness. An incorrect approach that involves focusing solely on one's own tasks without acknowledging or addressing potential team-wide issues fails to contribute to team goals and can lead to resentment or overburden colleagues. This neglects the principle of sharing information and resources, potentially hindering overall operational efficiency. Another incorrect approach, which is to complain about the workload without offering solutions or seeking collaborative ways to manage it, undermines team morale and constructive conflict resolution. Acknowledging challenges is important. Failing to engage in problem-solving or offering support to others is counterproductive to team objectives. A further incorrect approach, which is to ignore requests for assistance from colleagues due to being busy, directly violates the expectation of supporting team members and sharing resources. This can create a perception of unreliability and a lack of commitment to the team's success, potentially leading to delays and decreased service quality. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves first assessing the immediate task requirements and then considering the broader team context. If a potential bottleneck or strain on team resources is identified, The professional should prioritize open and respectful communication with colleagues and supervisors, offering assistance where feasible, seeking collaborative solutions, and sharing relevant information are key steps. This proactive and supportive engagement ensures that individual efforts contribute to the collective success of the Postal Service, adhering to its operational and ethical standards. Question 12. The review process indicates that a postal employee has observed a frayed electrical cord on a piece of sorting equipment that is sparking intermittently. The employee is aware that this poses a fire and electrical shock risk. What is the most appropriate immediate action to take? Option A. Attempt to tape the frayed cord themselves to temporarily secure it. Option B. Immediately report the frayed electrical cord and sparking to their direct supervisor or the designated safety representative. Option C. Inform a nearby coworker about the sparking cord. Option D. Continue working and hope the sparking stops on its own. The correct answer is B. Immediately report the frayed electrical cord and sparking to their direct supervisor or the designated safety representative. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires an immediate and decisive response to a potential safety hazard that could impact multiple individuals and the operational integrity of the postal facility. The challenge lies in balancing the urgency of the situation with the need to follow established safety protocols, ensuring that the response is effective without creating further risks or compromising the safety of oneself or others. Accurate assessment and reporting are paramount. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves immediately reporting the observed hazard to the appropriate supervisor or safety representative. This aligns directly with Postal Service regulations and guidelines concerning workplace safety, specifically the requirement to report all unsafe conditions promptly. This action ensures that trained personnel can assess the situation, implement corrective measures, and prevent potential accidents or injuries, thereby upholding the commitment to a safe work environment as mandated by the USPS. Incorrect approaches analysis. Failing to report the hazard and attempting to fix it oneself without proper training or authorization is a significant regulatory failure. It bypasses established safety procedures, potentially exposes the individual to unknown risks, and could lead to an improper or incomplete repair, leaving the hazard unaddressed or even exacerbated. This violates the principle of reporting safety hazards and adhering to established procedures. Ignoring the hazard and continuing with regular duties is a critical ethical and regulatory failure. It demonstrates a disregard for the well-being of colleagues and the operational safety of the facility. This inaction directly contradicts the USP's commitment to a safe work environment and the individual's responsibility to contribute to it. It also fails to uphold the duty to report safety concerns. Reporting the hazard to a coworker instead of a supervisor or designated safety representative is an incomplete and potentially ineffective approach. While it acknowledges the hazard, it does not ensure that the issue is formally documented and addressed through the proper channels. This can lead to delays in resolution and a failure to comply with official reporting protocols, undermining the systematic approach to safety management. Professional reasoning. Professionals in a postal environment must prioritize safety by adhering to established reporting structures. When a potential hazard is identified, the immediate and correct course of action is to inform the designated authority, typically a supervisor or safety officer. This ensures that the hazard is formally recognized, assessed by qualified personnel, and addressed according to established protocols. This systematic approach minimizes risk, protects employees, and maintains operational integrity. Professionals should always err on the side of caution and follow established safety reporting procedures. Question 13. Operational review demonstrates that a postal clerk is processing a large volume of incoming mail. While the clerk is generally efficient, there are instances where mail is sorted incorrectly due to a perceived rush. The clerk's supervisor is concerned about the potential for errors and customer dissatisfaction. Which of the following approaches best reflects the required attention to detail and adherence to procedures for this situation? Option A. The clerk should pause processing to meticulously verify each piece of mail against the manifest, cross-referencing addresses and ensuring all labels and postage are correct before placing it in the appropriate bin. Option B. The clerk should process mail based on the general appearance of the envelopes, making quick decisions about sorting to keep the workflow moving. Option C. The clerk should continue to process mail at a high speed, relying on their experience to quickly identify and sort most items and address any errors that arise later. Option D. The clerk should prioritize sorting mail for familiar routes first, assuming these are less likely to contain errors, and then deal with less common routes. Correct answer is C. The clerk should continue to process mail at high speed, relying on their experience to quickly identify and sort most items and address any errors that arise later. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to balance the need for efficiency with the absolute necessity of accuracy and adherence to established procedures. The pressure to process mail quickly can lead to shortcuts, but any deviation from precise handling can result in lost mail, misdeliveries, or damaged items, all of which have significant consequences for both the customer and the Postal Service's reputation. The core of the challenge lies in maintaining a high level of attention to detail under potentially demanding operational conditions. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves meticulously verifying each piece of mail against the manifest, cross-referencing addresses, and ensuring proper postage and labeling before processing. This aligns directly with the Postal Service's commitment to accuracy and reliability, as outlined in its operational guidelines and employee handbooks, which emphasize the importance of following established procedures precisely to minimize errors and maintain service quality. This thoroughness ensures that mail is handled correctly at every step, preventing potential issues down the line and upholding the trust placed in the Postal Service. Incorrect approach is analysis, an approach that prioritizes speed over accuracy by quickly scanning labels without detailed verification risks misrouting or mishandling mail. This directly violates the Postal Service's procedural requirements for mail processing, which are designed to ensure each item is handled with care and precision. Such an approach would lead to an increase in errors, customer complaints, and potential loss of mail, undermining the organization's operational integrity. Another incorrect approach would be to assume that most mail is correctly addressed and labeled, processing it without a thorough check. This demonstrates a lack of attention to detail and a failure to follow established protocols for mail verification. The Postal Service operates on the principle of meticulous handling, and any assumption that bypasses procedural checks introduces a significant risk of error, impacting service quality and customer satisfaction. An approach that involves processing mail based on general familiarity with routes or common addresses, rather than strict adherence to the specific details on each piece of mail, is also fundamentally flawed. This bypasses the critical step of detailed examination and verification, which is essential for preventing mistakes. Such a method is not supported by Postal Service regulations, which mandate precise handling and verification to ensure accuracy and prevent errors. Professional reasoning. Postal Service professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes procedural adherence and meticulous attention to detail. When faced with operational demands, the framework should guide them to 1. Understand the core objective accurate mail processing. 2. Identify all relevant procedures and guidelines. 3. Evaluate each task against these procedures, ensuring no detail is overlooked. 4. Prioritize accuracy and quality over speed when there is a conflict, as errors can lead to greater inefficiencies and customer dissatisfaction in the long run. 5. Seek clarification or assistance if unsure about any aspect of a procedure. This systematic approach ensures that the Postal Service's commitment to reliable service is maintained. Question 14. Assessment of the most effective problem-solving approach for a postal employee encountering a customer whose package has not arrived by the guaranteed delivery date, considering the need to maintain customer satisfaction while strictly adhering to Postal Service regulations and operational procedures. Option A. Suggest the customer file a formal complaint online and wait for a response, as direct intervention is outside the scope of immediate customer service. Option B. Systematically investigate the package tracking information, consult internal resources for potential issues, evaluate permissible solutions according to Postal Service guidelines, and communicate a clear, actionable plan to the customer. Option C. Immediately offer a full refund and a replacement shipment without verifying the package's current status, prioritizing customer appeasement. Option D. Advise the customer that delays are common and that the Postal Service cannot guarantee delivery times, offering no further assistance. The correct answer is C. Immediately offer a full refund and a replacement shipment without verifying the package's current status, prioritizing customer appeasement. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to balance the immediate need to resolve a customer's issue with the strict adherence to established postal regulations and procedures. The employee must gather accurate information about the package status, identify the root cause of the delay or issue, and then propose a solution that is both effective for the customer and compliant with postal service policies. Failure to follow proper procedures can lead to customer dissatisfaction, potential loss of mail, or even disciplinary action. The correct approach involves a systematic problem-solving process that prioritizes information gathering and adherence to regulations. This begins with understanding the customer's specific problem, then diligently investigating the package tracking information and any internal notes or alerts. Evaluating potential solutions requires considering what actions are permissible under postal service guidelines, such as initiating a trace, offering a refund for services not rendered, or providing accurate updated delivery estimates. Selecting the best course of action means choosing the solution that best resolves the customer's issue while remaining within regulatory boundaries. Implementing the solution and then following up to ensure it was effective demonstrates a commitment to customer service and operational integrity, aligning with the Postal Service's mission to provide reliable mail delivery. This methodical approach ensures that actions taken are justifiable, documented, and in line with the Postal Service's operational framework and customer service standards. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on appeasing the customer without verifying information or adhering to procedures is professionally unacceptable. This could involve making promises about delivery times that cannot be guaranteed or offering compensation without proper authorization or investigation, which violates established postal service policies and could lead to financial discrepancies or operational chaos. Another incorrect approach that involves ignoring the customer's complaint or providing a dismissive response fails to uphold the Postal Service's commitment to customer service and can lead to significant reputational damage and loss of customer trust. Furthermore, an approach that attempts to circumvent established tracking or investigation protocols to expedite a resolution, even with good intentions, can undermine the integrity of the mail system and create security risks, directly contravening postal service regulations designed to ensure the secure and efficient handling of mail. Professionals in this role should employ a decision-making framework that emphasizes a structured problem-solving methodology. This involves clearly defining the problem, gathering all relevant facts and data, identifying potential solutions, evaluating each solution against established policies and customer needs, selecting the most appropriate action, implementing it effectively, and then reviewing the outcome. This process ensures that decisions are informed, justifiable, and aligned with both operational requirements and ethical responsibilities. Question 15. Upon reviewing the automated sorting machine in your section, you notice it is intermittently jamming and misdirecting a small percentage of mail. The machine's indicator lights are flashing a warning code you do not immediately recognize. What is the most appropriate immediate action to take to address this situation? Option A. Initiate a full shutdown of the processing facility to avoid any potential damage to the sorting machine or mail. Option B. Consult the machine's operational manual for the specific warning code, attempt basic troubleshooting steps outlined for jams, and if unresolved, immediately report the issue to your supervisor and the maintenance department. Option C. Immediately attempt to manually clear the jam and restart the machine, hoping the issue resolves itself with continued operation. Option D. Continue processing mail as usual, assuming the misdirection and jamming are minor and will not significantly impact overall mail flow. The correct answer is B. Consult the machine's operational manual for the specific warning code, attempt basic troubleshooting steps outlined for jams, and if unresolved, immediately report the issue to your supervisor and the maintenance department. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires immediate action to mitigate potential service disruptions and financial losses while adhering to established operational procedures and safety protocols. A postal employee must balance the urgency of the situation with the need for accurate diagnosis and appropriate response, all within the context of maintaining efficient mail processing. The correct approach involves a systematic troubleshooting process that prioritizes safety and adherence to Postal Service guidelines. This approach is right because it directly addresses the problem by following a defined procedure designed to identify and resolve equipment malfunctions efficiently. It aligns with Postal Service regulations concerning equipment maintenance and operational continuity, ensuring that mail processing is restored as quickly and safely as possible. This methodical process minimizes the risk of further damage to the equipment or injury to personnel. An incorrect approach that involves immediately attempting complex repairs without proper training or authorization is professionally unacceptable. This failure violates Postal Service guidelines on equipment operation and maintenance, which mandate that only authorized and trained personnel should perform repairs. It also poses a significant safety risk, potentially leading to equipment damage or personal injury, which is a direct contravention of workplace safety regulations. Another incorrect approach, such as ignoring the malfunction and continuing to process mail, is also professionally unacceptable. This action directly compromises mail integrity and processing efficiency, leading to delays and potential loss of mail. It also violates Postal Service directives on equipment functionality and operational standards, as well as potentially creating a safety hazard if the malfunction escalates. A third incorrect approach, which is to immediately shut down the entire processing facility without a thorough assessment, is also professionally unsound. While safety is paramount, an immediate, broad shutdown without diagnosing the specific issue can cause unnecessary disruption to mail flow and impact service delivery across a wider area. This demonstrates a lack of judgment in assessing the scope of the problem and applying the most appropriate, targeted solution as outlined in operational procedures. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Prioritizing safety. Assess any immediate risks to personnel or equipment. 2. Following established protocols. Consult and adhere to the Postal Service's troubleshooting guides and maintenance procedures for the specific equipment. 3. Accurate diagnosis. Attempt to identify the root cause of the malfunction through observation and basic diagnostic steps. 4. Escalation. If the problem cannot be resolved through basic troubleshooting, escalate the issue to the appropriate maintenance or supervisory personnel. 5. Documentation. Record the malfunction, troubleshooting steps taken, and the resolution or escalation. Question 16. Cost-benefit analysis shows that optimizing delivery routes can significantly reduce operational expenses and improve delivery times. When a postal carrier encounters a situation where the street name on their map appears to be incorrect or outdated, and the physical street signage is different, what is the most appropriate course of action to ensure efficient and accurate delivery? Option A. Attempt to locate the address by cross-referencing the map with any available GPS data or other supplementary delivery information provided, and if still uncertain, seek guidance from a supervisor or dispatch before making a delivery decision. Option B. Proceed with the delivery based on the street name indicated on the map, assuming the map is the definitive source of information for the route. Option C. Immediately abandon the delivery for that address and mark it as undeliverable due to map discrepancy. Option D. Make a judgment call based on the visual appearance of the street and surrounding buildings, assuming the physical signage is likely incorrect. Correct answer is B. Proceed with the delivery based on the street name indicated on the map, assuming the map is the definitive source of information for the route. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal carrier to balance efficiency with accuracy and adherence to established procedures, all while navigating a dynamic environment. The postal carrier must interpret map information accurately to ensure timely and correct delivery, which directly impacts customer satisfaction and operational costs. The core challenge lies in making a judgment call when faced with a discrepancy between map information and the physical reality of the delivery area, without compromising service standards or safety. The correct approach involves prioritizing the most reliable and current information available to locate the address. This means cross-referencing the map with other available resources, such as GPS data if provided, or even local knowledge if permissible and safe. The regulatory framework for postal services, while not explicitly detailed here for the Postal Service Exam 473, generally emphasizes accuracy in delivery and adherence to established routes and procedures to ensure mail is delivered to the correct recipient. Ethical considerations also play a role, Misdelivery can lead to privacy breaches and customer dissatisfaction, which are detrimental to the Postal Service's reputation and operational integrity. Therefore, a methodical approach to verifying the address is paramount. An incorrect approach would be to solely rely on the potentially outdated map information and proceed with a delivery attempt based on an assumption. This fails to account for potential changes in street layouts, house numbering, or new constructions, which are common in urban and suburban environments. Such an approach risks misdelivery, wasted time and resources, and potential customer complaints, all of which are contrary to the operational efficiency and service quality expected of a postal carrier. Another incorrect approach would be to abandon the delivery attempt without exhausting all reasonable verification methods. This would negatively impact delivery performance metrics and customer service. A third incorrect approach might involve making a subjective judgment about the address's location without any form of verification, which introduces a high degree of error and unprofessionalism. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy and adherence to established protocols. This involves 1. Understanding the task and available tools, map, GPS, delivery manifest. 2. Identifying potential discrepancies or ambiguities. 3. Consulting reliable secondary sources or verification methods. 4. Making an informed decision based on the gathered information. 5. Documenting any deviations or issues encountered. This systematic process ensures that deliveries are made correctly and efficiently, minimizing errors and maximizing customer satisfaction, in line with the operational standards of the Postal Service. Question 17. Performance analysis shows that a Postal Service employee is tasked with processing a batch of international mail that requires specific customs declarations and handling procedures. The employee is provided with a detailed, multi-page instruction manual outlining the exact sequence of steps, including required stamps, form completion, and sorting criteria. The employee has processed similar mail in the past, but this particular batch has unique requirements due to recent changes in international shipping regulations. Which of the following approaches best demonstrates adherence to following instructions in this scenario? Option A. The employee quickly skims the instruction manual, relying on their past experience with international mail to perform the task, assuming the new regulations are minor variations. Option B. The employee carefully reads the entire instruction manual from beginning to end, identifying all key information and specific requirements before starting the processing, and then follows each step in the prescribed sequence. Option C. The employee processes the mail in an order they believe is more efficient, consulting the manual only for the most critical-looking steps. Option D. The employee begins processing the mail, referring to the manual only when encountering an unfamiliar step, and skips steps that appear to be standard based on prior experience. The correct answer is B. The employee carefully reads the entire instruction manual from beginning to end, identifying all key information and specific requirements before starting the processing, and then follows each step in the prescribed sequence. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the Postal Service employee to meticulously follow a multi-step process for handling a specific type of mail, where deviations can lead to significant errors, customer dissatisfaction, and potential security breaches. The employee must not only understand the written instructions, but also apply them accurately to a real-time situation, demonstrating attention to detail and adherence to established protocols. The pressure of time and the volume of mail can exacerbate the risk of errors. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves carefully reading and understanding each step of the provided instructions before beginning the task. This includes identifying the key information, such as the specific type of mail, the required handling procedure, and any associated documentation. The employee then applies these instructions sequentially, ensuring each step is completed correctly before moving to the next. This methodical approach minimizes the risk of overlooking critical details or performing steps out of order, directly aligning with the Postal Service's emphasis on accuracy, efficiency, and adherence to established operating procedures, which are implicitly governed by internal USPS guidelines and regulations designed to ensure mail integrity and customer service. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves quickly scanning the instructions and attempting to perform the task based on a general understanding. This fails to identify specific nuances or critical details within the instructions, leading to potential errors in mail handling, misrouting, or improper documentation. This violates the fundamental principle of following explicit instructions, which is paramount in a regulated environment like the Postal Service. Another incorrect approach is to assume familiarity with similar tasks and skip certain steps deemed less important. This is a common pitfall that can lead to overlooking crucial security checks or specific handling requirements for particular mail classes, potentially compromising the mail or violating USP's protocols. It demonstrates a lack of discipline in following instructions precisely as written. A third incorrect approach is to deviate from the prescribed sequence of steps, perhaps due to perceived efficiency or personal preference. This can disrupt the intended workflow, lead to missed steps, or create confusion in the handling process, ultimately undermining the integrity of the mail service and potentially violating established operational procedures. Professional reasoning. Professionals in the Postal Service must cultivate a disciplined approach to following instructions. This involves a commitment to thorough reading, comprehension, and sequential execution of all directives. When faced with new or complex instructions, it is crucial to pause, clarify any ambiguities, and then proceed with deliberate care. The decision-making process should prioritize accuracy and adherence to established protocols over speed or assumptions. This ensures the consistent delivery of reliable and secure postal services, upholding the trust placed in the organization by the public. Question 18. Implementation of new customer service protocols requires postal clerks to accurately explain the cost of sending a package. A customer asks, "How much will it cost to send this to California?" Which of the following responses best demonstrates an understanding of postal terminology and regulatory requirements for customer communication? Option A. The cost depends on the mail class you choose, such as first-class package service or priority mail. For this package, priority mail would be $X, Roman 20, and first-class package service would be $Y. Y. Option B. It's based on the weight and destination. The price is $Z, ZZ. Option C. That's the price for sending it. Option D. We'll figure out the postage when it gets to the front of the line. The correct answer is A. The cost depends on the mail class you choose, such as first-class package service or priority mail. For this package, priority mail would be $X, Roman 20, and first-class package service would be $Y. Y. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to accurately interpret and apply specific postal terminology in a customer-facing interaction. Misunderstanding or misusing terms like mail class or postage can lead to customer dissatisfaction, incorrect service provision, and potential operational inefficiencies. The employee must demonstrate not only knowledge of the terms, but also the ability to communicate them clearly and correctly to a stakeholder who may not be familiar with postal jargon. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves accurately identifying the customer's need for information regarding the cost of sending a package, and then using the correct terminology to explain the options. This means understanding that postage refers to the fee paid for mailing, and that different mail classes, e.g., first-class mail, priority mail, have different costs and delivery speeds. The employee should clearly state the cost associated with the chosen mail class, ensuring the customer understands what they are paying for. This aligns with USP's guidelines on customer service and accurate information dissemination, ensuring transparency and customer trust. Incorrect approaches analysis. An approach that focuses solely on the weight of the package without mentioning mail class or postage cost fails to provide the customer with the complete information needed to make an informed decision. This is a regulatory failure as it omits crucial details about service options and their associated fees, potentially misleading the customer. An approach that uses vague terms like "it costs what it costs" or "that's the price" is unprofessional and ethically questionable. Demonstrates a lack of knowledge or unwillingness to provide clear, helpful information, which is contrary to the USP's commitment to customer service and transparency. This approach fails to educate the customer and can lead to frustration and distrust. An approach that incorrectly identifies the mail class or misstates the postage cost is a direct violation of USP's operational procedures and customer service standards. Providing inaccurate information can lead to the package being mishandled, delayed, or returned, causing significant inconvenience to the customer and potentially incurring additional costs or disciplinary action for the employee. This is a critical operational and regulatory failure. Professional reasoning. Postal employees must prioritize clear, accurate, and helpful communication when interacting with customers. The decision-making process should involve 1. Actively listening to the customer's request to understand their needs. 2. Accessing and applying knowledge of USP's terminology and services. 3. Communicating information clearly and concisely, using correct terminology. 4. Verifying customer understanding and addressing any follow-up questions. This ensures adherence to USP's regulations, promotes customer satisfaction, and maintains operational efficiency. Question 19. Which approach would be most appropriate for a postal employee encountering a consistently malfunctioning scanner that is hindering their ability to process mail efficiently and accurately? Option A. Ignore the scanner issue and process all mail manually until a solution is found without reporting the problem. Option B. Continue using the malfunctioning scanner, attempting to manually compensate for its errors to meet processing deadlines. Option C. Attempt to troubleshoot and repair the scanner independently using online guides or personal knowledge. Option D. Immediately report the malfunctioning scanner to the designated technical support or supervisor, following established USP's procedures for equipment issues. The correct answer is D. Immediately report the malfunctioning scanner to the designated technical support or supervisor, following established USP's procedures for equipment issues. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a postal employee to balance the immediate need to process mail with the potential long-term consequences of using outdated or unsupported technology. The employee must make a judgment call that impacts efficiency, data integrity, and adherence to USP's technological standards. Careful consideration is required to ensure that operational demands do not lead to a compromise of established protocols. The correct approach involves proactively identifying and reporting the issue to the appropriate technical support channels within the USPs. This represents best professional practice because it aligns with USP's guidelines for maintaining and upgrading technological infrastructure. By following established procedures for reporting technical problems, the employee ensures that the issue is addressed systematically, potentially leading to a permanent solution that benefits all users. This adheres to the implicit regulatory requirement of maintaining operational efficiency and data security through the use of approved and functional technology. An incorrect approach would be to continue using the malfunctioning scanner without reporting it. This is professionally unacceptable because it risks data corruption or loss, delays mail processing, and potentially violates USP's directives regarding the use of functional equipment. It also fails to contribute to the overall improvement of the postal system's technological capabilities. Another incorrect approach would be to attempt to fix the scanner independently without proper training or authorization. This could lead to further damage to the equipment, create security vulnerabilities, and potentially violate USP's policies on equipment maintenance and repair. It bypasses the established support structure designed to handle such issues effectively and safely. A third incorrect approach would be to ignore the scanner issue and simply process mail manually for an extended period without reporting the problem. While seemingly a temporary workaround, this is professionally unsound as it significantly reduces efficiency, increases the likelihood of errors, and does not address the root cause of the problem. It also fails to inform management or IT support about a critical operational impediment. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves 1. Recognizing the technical issue and its potential impact. 2. Consulting available USP's resources or colleagues for immediate, authorized workarounds if applicable. 3. Following established procedures for reporting technical malfunctions. 4. Documenting the issue and any steps taken. 5. Cooperating with IT support to resolve the problem. This systematic approach ensures compliance, efficiency, and the integrity of postal operations. Question 20. The analysis reveals that a postal clerk has received a package that, based on its external markings and the sender's declaration, appears to contain a substance that could be classified as restricted mail under Postal Service regulations. The clerk has access to the Postal Service's Domestic Mail Manual, DMM, and is tasked with determining the correct course of action. The clerk must accurately interpret the DMM sections pertaining to hazardous materials and restricted items to ensure compliance and safety. Which of the following actions best demonstrates the clerk's ability to understand written passages related to postal operations, identify the main idea and supporting details, draw inferences, and interpret technical documents to ensure proper handling of the package? Option A. The clerk decides to open the package to visually inspect the contents to confirm its nature, as the external markings are not entirely clear. Option B. Clerk asks a colleague for their opinion on how to handle the package, without independently reviewing the DMM themselves. Option C. The clerk recalls a similar package handled last year and proceeds with the same handling procedure, assuming the regulations have not changed significantly. Option D. The clerk consults the DMM, specifically Section 601, enclosures and matter that may not be mailed or are restricted, and Section 602, permissible enclosures and matter that may be mailed with restrictions, to identify the specific classification of the substance and follow the outlined procedures for its handling, including any required reporting or segregation. The correct answer is D. The clerk consults the DMM, specifically Section 601, enclosures and matter that may not be mailed or are restricted, and Section 602, permissible enclosures and matter that may be mailed with restrictions, to identify the specific classification of the substance and follow the outlined procedures for its handling, including any required reporting or segregation. Explanation. The analysis reveals a scenario where a postal employee must interpret a complex set of instructions regarding the handling of a restricted item. This is professionally challenging because misinterpreting such instructions can lead to significant consequences, including legal penalties, damage to postal property, and harm to individuals. The employee must demonstrate a high level of reading comprehension to accurately identify the main idea of the policy, supporting details about prohibited items, and the specific procedures for handling them, all while maintaining a neutral and objective tone. Drawing correct inferences and conclusions from the technical manual is paramount to ensuring compliance. The correct approach involves meticulously reading the provided Postal Service Manual section on restricted mail, identifying the specific classification of the item in question, and then applying the outlined procedures for its handling and reporting. This approach is correct because it directly adheres to the regulatory framework of the Postal Service, ensuring that all actions taken are in accordance with established laws and guidelines designed to maintain the security and integrity of the mail system. It prioritizes safety and compliance by following the documented process for restricted items. An incorrect approach would be to rely on prior experience or assumptions about similar items without consulting the manual. This fails to acknowledge the specific nuances of the current policy and could lead to a violation of regulations designed to address unique risks. Another incorrect approach would be to interpret the manual in a way that favors convenience over safety, such as attempting to process the item without following the required reporting procedures. This demonstrates a disregard for the established protocols and the potential risks associated with restricted mail, violating the core principles of postal operations and public safety. A further incorrect approach would be to delegate the decision-making to a colleague without independently verifying the information, which abdicates responsibility and can lead to inconsistent application of policy. Professionals should employ a systematic decision-making process that begins with a thorough and objective reading of all relevant documentation. This involves identifying the core issue, locating the specific policy or procedure that addresses it, understanding all conditions and exceptions, and then applying the prescribed actions. If ambiguity exists, seeking clarification from a supervisor or designated authority is the next critical step, rather than making assumptions or proceeding with an action that could be non-compliant.